Staying on top in Hollywood is not easy, which is why many actors and actresses who experience a sudden rise in their careers often see their success fade just as quickly. After that, they disappear from major productions and vanish from the spotlight, appearing mostly on television or in secondary roles in mediocre films. Today, let's talk about two actresses who made a splash in the late 1990s but failed to hold on to their success. Denise Richards' career surged in the second half of the 1990s, but by the early 2000s, things changed drastically. She went from starring in prominent, expensive films with wide releases to questionable movies and TV series, where she mostly appeared in supporting roles. Coming from modeling, Richards spent the early 1990s taking minor parts in various films and television shows. For example, she appeared briefly in Loaded Weapon and the series Married with Children. Her breakthrough came with Paul Verhoeven's sci-fi action film Starship Troopers. Yes, the movie was a complete failure at the global box office, and many of the actors involved never managed to bounce back. Richards, however, was luckier, even though her role was heavily reduced in the final cut. Most of the cuts affected the romantic storyline, which portrayed her character as being equally in love with two different men. Test audiences found this amusing. Still, despite the film's failure, Richards was flooded with offers after Starship Troopers. She even landed a guest appearance on Friends. Her next project was Wild Things, a well-known thriller that later spawned several straight-to-video sequels. Watching those requires some mental preparation, but the first Wild Things performed quite well. Richards got lucky again. The film had a long pre-production period, and the start of shooting was repeatedly postponed. Richards' role could have gone to Tara Reid, but due to the delays, Wild Things lost many cast members. Robert Downey Jr. couldn't stay either. His role went to Matt Dillon, while Downey moved on to U.S. Marshals, which he later described as the worst action movie of all time. In the end, the female leads went to Richards and Neve Campbell. At the time, the actresses were often teased about their ages. Films like this helped create jokes about full-grown adults playing high school students. In Wild Things, Campbell's and Richards' characters are high schoolers, while in reality, Campbell was 25 and Richards was 27 during filming. Everyone except Neve Campbell was affected by the nude scenes, which were originally supposed to be far fewer. Even Kevin Bacon, who had a no-nudity clause in his contract, got caught up in it. According to Bacon, the brief nude scenes that made it to the film was an accident. Multiple takes were done for the towel toss scene, and in all but one, the towel covered everything appropriately. Bacon claims he was sleeping at home when the breathless director burst in, saying the best take was the one where a certain part of him was slightly visible. Half asleep, Bacon couldn't think of anything better than to ask how he looked in that take, then gave the director permission to keep the shot. When he saw the scene at the film's premiere, he wanted to punch the director and demand millions of dollars from the studio. That never happened though, since he was a producer on the film and would have had to sue himself. For Richards, things were different. She claimed she was promised she would only be filmed from angles that wouldn't reveal anything. However, because many scenes were shot with two cameras, she realized at the premiere that the final cut exposed much more than she had agreed to. Unlike Bacon and Campbell, who had no nudity clauses in their contracts, Richards didn't include one, so she couldn't complain or take the matter to court. The situation may have been similar to Sharon Stone's experience in Basic Instinct. Stone also had no idea what was happening and didn't wear underwear simply to feel more comfortable. When the camera was pointed at her, she forgot it was recording and everything ended up on film. Wild Things didn't do well at the box office, but it became successful on home video, prompting the studio to release several sequels. Many believe the turning point in Richards' career came after Wild Things, when she landed a role in The World Is Not Enough. The spy thriller performed quite well at the box office, but by that point, Bond films started to feel like expensive commercials, and quite well basically meant excellent for the producers. However, the film dealt a heavy blow to Richards' career. She received the harshest criticism among the cast and is often cited as the worst Bond girl in franchise history. Richards was criticized not only for her acting, but also for her appearance. The actress insists that if she had been dressed differently, audiences would have been equally disappointed. The filmmakers tried to explain that her outfit was a nod to Lara Croft, whose games were selling incredibly well at the time. Nobody really cared, and Richards ended up winning a Golden Raspberry for Worst Supporting Actress. Around the same time, another film starring Richards in the lead role failed at the box office. The unlucky one was Drop Dead Gorgeous. In 2001, 2 of her films failed, one of which didn't even receive a theatrical release in the US. The most promising project was Valentine, but by then teen slashers were starting to lose steam, and Valentine flopped, earning only $36 million on a $29 million budget. The movie that went straight to video after test screenings was Good Advice. By that point, Charlie Sheen was already barely in demand, and his films were failing one after another. Since the studio didn't get the results they hoped for, they chose not to take risks and released the movie directly to home video. It was during this project that Richards and Sheen started dating and eventually married, which allowed Richards to continue appearing in wide-release films for a bit longer. Scary Movie 3 helped the actress stay on the public's radar, with Sheen appearing alongside her, but after the split in 2006, Richards essentially disappeared from theaters. She made a few minor comeback attempts such as Blonde and Blonder, but with audience scores of 2.9 out of 10, success was impossible. With a $12 million budget, the film grossed just over $1 million. Today, Richards occasionally appears in TV series and sometimes takes roles in films with limited theatrical releases or straight-to-video distribution. A full return to the big screen is out of the question. Still, she earned good money during her relatively short period of stardom and is doing fine financially. She even rents property to Angelina Jolie, so while her career didn't turn out as hoped, what she achieved was enough to secure a comfortable life. Unlike Richards, Neve Campbell didn't come to the film industry from modeling, she came from ballet. Yes, like a certain well-known Belgian actor, Neve trained in ballet and was accepted into the National Ballet School of Canada. She beat out 2,000 applicants to get in, but couldn't withstand the pressure. According to her, the environment would have crushed her. That's why she transferred to a regular dance school and eventually found her way to theater and then film. Campbell's breakthrough came with the TV series Party of Five. In the mid-1990s, the show enjoyed excellent ratings and featured many actors and actresses who later found fame on the big screen, including Jennifer Love Hewitt and Matthew Fox. The series also helped Campbell land a role in the film Scream. Director Wes Craven personally reached out to the actress. He liked Party of Five so much that once he secured the director's chair for Scream, he immediately called her and asked her to come in for an audition. She didn't refuse, but requested $1.5 million for the role. As a result, although she was mainly a TV actress at the time, she became the highest-paid cast member in Scream. Courtney Cox could have earned more, as Friends was one of the highest-rated shows during the filming of Scream. However, the producers didn't want to cast her, and she had to chase the director to get the role. Naturally, her fee was reduced to a minimum. Scream was a huge success at the box office. It grossed $173 million on a $14 million budget and revived the teen slasher genre, which had been considered dead for several years. Campbell immediately received an offer to appear in the sequel, earning $3.5 million. According to her, the months working on Scream 2 were the hardest of her career. At the same time, she was working on Party of Five. On Mondays and Tuesdays, she worked solely on the series. On Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, she spent the mornings on the TV set and the afternoons on the set of Scream 2. Saturdays and Sundays were fully devoted to Scream. By the way, Richards could have appeared in the film as well. She was cast in one of the roles, but since Paul Verhoeven didn't like to rush, the production of Starship Troopers fell behind schedule, and Richards had to leave Scream 2. The sequel had a $24 million budget and still grossed a solid $172 million. Since the creators of Scream decided to take a short break before the third installment, Neve had the opportunity to appear in other films while continuing work on her TV series. Between 1998 and 2000, she appeared in 5 films, all of which flopped at the box office. Unlike Richards, Campbell closely monitored what ended up on screen in Wild Things, even attending the editing room. She earned $2 million for her role. The actress was terrified of filming explicit scenes and claimed she had to get extremely drunk to stop shaking on camera. Since drinking alone wasn't a great idea, Richards and Dillon joined her, and they drank almost to the point of passing out. Later, the filmmakers somehow had to get all 3 of them in front of the camera and shoot the scenes as quickly as possible. While Wild Things at least performed well on home video, Campbell's other projects didn't fare as well. 54, 3 to Tango, which earned her $2.5 million, and the expensive comedy Drowning Mona had no chance of recouping their budgets. Later, Campbell said that due to her commitments to Party of Five in the late 1990s, she missed out on several excellent offers that later became box office hits. Since her options were limited by her TV contract, she had to accept whatever roles were available and not completely awful. She never revealed which projects those were, so it's difficult to say how truthful she was. Officially, it's known that she declined the lead female role in Armageddon and later also turned down Chicago, both of which became massive hits. Still, the actress had Scream, which served as something of a lifeline. The third film earned her $4 million. Although it didn't perform as well as the previous installments, it covered its cost and grossed $160 million. By that time, Campbell was free from Party of Five, and nothing limited her choices anymore. However, her role selection remained questionable, and at times it seemed that her main concern was the size of the paycheck. Sandra Bullock passed on Chicago because of her high demands. Why Campbell declined the role remains unclear. That same year, she received $5 million for her role in Robert Altman's The Company. Meanwhile, the creators of Chicago were working with a limited budget and simply couldn't afford such fees. Robert Altman was a highly respected director. Before The Company, he made Gosford Park, which earned numerous Oscar nominations and performed very well financially. Expectations were high, so it's possible Campbell wasn't motivated purely by money and was seeking artistic recognition. Still, actors rarely ask for that kind of salary for films of that type. In the early 2000s, Campbell continued choosing similar projects. Roles in films like Investigating Sex and Panic drew some critical attention, but all of these movies, including The Company, flopped at the box office and failed to revive her career. By the mid-2000s, she began appearing in straight-to-video films and gradually returned to television. Whenever she landed a leading role in a TV series such as The Philanthropist, the shows were often canceled due to low ratings. She also appeared in higher-profile projects like Mad Men and Medium. In 2011, Campbell attempted a comeback with Scream 4. The film underperformed at the box office, and the franchise was eventually shifted to television. After that, she took on fewer roles, which also reduced her presence in obscure films. In 2016, she appeared in House of Cards, and later played Dwayne Johnson's wife in Skyscraper. House of Cards was a highly successful Netflix series, and a film starring Dwayne Johnson almost always breaks even. Compared to Richards, Campbell's career was clearly in better shape. Although she was a rising star in the late 1990s and many expected her to become a full-fledged superstar, that obviously never happened. Part of it was bad luck, and part of it was her rather questionable choice of roles. Still, one thing consistently worked in her favor: the Scream franchise. Every installment turned out to be profitable, and it effectively became her safety net in Hollywood. The actress is set to appear in Scream 7, alongside several original cast members. Kevin Williamson is directing the film. At 52, Neve Campbell looks great, remains recognizable, and most importantly, is still working in the industry that once promised her everything. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.